So I remember because what happened with me is I used to live with my parents. Um, I'd say this was sort of back end of 2013 slash 2014. And then around 2014, I moved out. So I had this internship opportunity in Manchester, which is, roughly 3.5 hours drive away from London, where I grew up. So that kind of isolated me because I entered a place that I didn't know anyone. And so, but most of my time I realized that, used to be occupied in social matters like meeting friends, hanging out with different people, family, and so on. And and so really, living with my parents, I felt like I mostly had to follow, the narrative of, let's say, the household or the narrative of my immediate friends. And so it kind of neutralizes things and I saw myself as the average of the people I would interact with. But deep down though, I enjoyed my alone time. And so I'd be in my bedroom, um, just either, just watching movies or playing games or whatever. Um, but I'd be alone, and a lot of that time I'd spend thinking about things, right? Reflecting on things. But that very thinking, um, I noticed it was quite meditative. It's not necessarily always about what the content is, what I'm thinking about. It's the very process itself. It can be quite meditative to just observe one's own thoughts. And it was a form of meditation that I was doing. But the goal was to just figure things out. Like the way I would look at it, even back then, and even till this day, I kind of do this, is I look at my day, I look at my week, and the average of what's taking place can kind of show you a projection of how things will be like in the future. And so imagining the image based on what I'm doing today, that futuristic image wouldn't be satisfying enough, let's say, or wouldn't be meaningful enough. Um, and I remember I'd question things like if I just carried on what I'm doing, if I just carried on doing what I'm doing, and just follow the general mainstream narrative, I work hard, get my degree, get a job, make loads of money, and then try to find more ways of making money, and then buy a big house, have a beautiful wife, have kids, have cars, and whatever. That just it didn't cut it for me. It wasn't satisfying enough for me. So I just carried on. Um, and and then it was like almost like I was entering a rabbit hole. But then when I moved to Manchester, that's where it was, because I was so isolated. It was the only thing I could really focus on. And it's almost like, the life shaped its way for that purpose so that I could try and figure this out so that I can invest the time I needed into it. Um, and so the deeper you get into introspection or self-inquiry, I was doing self-inquiry before I'd ever heard about non-duality. Um, and I would question everything. And then I realized, wait a second, like no one actually knows what's going on, right? No one around me actually knows what's going on. They can believe that they know what's going on, but that's just a belief. And so that created a shift within me at the time where, hold on a second, I believe a bunch of stuff, but believing doesn't necessarily mean it's absolutely true. Believing implies that there's a potential for it to be wrong or false, right? Because if you truly know something, it doesn't require a justification. It doesn't require memory. It doesn't require belief. And so once I realized that, I noticed that most of people are walking a reality that is shaped by their beliefs rather than but by what they know. And from there, I just carried on and belief systems, they sort of slowly started to collapse. I wasn't relying so much on belief anymore. I just wanted to I was just solely interested in what is known right here and right now, you know? Um, and I'd say that was really the sort of path, but it's extremely difficult and there's a lot of discomfort when questioning your beliefs because they have been shaping your reality for so long. And the fact that it's been shaping your reality for so long, it all of a sudden if that gets taken away, it feels like you're dying or it feels like something's missing. It's deeply uncomfortable. But
Yeah,
I guess it's part of the cleansing process that needs to take place in order for clarity to come about. And then I'd say experientially, there are moments that were quite, let's say, tangible or can be distinguished from other moments. Um, and then I fell into the trap of trying to chase these experiences. Um, but I realized that that was also solely based on belief, and is manufactured, you know. And if something's manufactured, by definition, it's not more meaningful or it's not more profound than that which is known in the immediate moment right now. Um, People would argue otherwise, right? But if one really sits with this, they'll realize that whatever they deem as meaningful, if it's something manufactured like an idea, a belief system, a thought, or whatever, really what's more meaningful and more profound is just the sense of being that is even allowing you to recognize that there is the beliefs and the thoughts and the memories and so on. And so yeah, there was a lot of frustration at the time. I would go up to random people, we could be sat in a restaurant, random bunch of guys might be sat down, and I'll just go up to them and say, hey, look, I really want to ask you guys a question. And then they'd be like, okay, well, so go ahead. And then I'll just tell them like, what's the purpose of life? Like, what's your purpose? What are you doing? And I had this urge to hear it from other people, right? And I guess that was the closest thing to my sort of means to try and communicate with people, you know? Uh, and I realized that no one really understood or knew with absolute certainty what the crack is. Um, and so I just carried on in this way, and eventually it just unfolded itself to me. People always ask the question, is it like one big bang where it's just all clear, or is it gradual? I'd say there were moments of a bit of both. It's gradual, and then there might be glimpses here and there. But if you get attached to anything, then you're attached to an idea once more.